we go. Can you hear me as well, Amy?
Absolutely. And thank you everyone for joining us today. My name's Amy Cardell, and we're so glad to have you. I'm speaking to you live from San Diego, where I'm looking out the window at the USS Midway from the ASU GSV conference in San Diego. We're very glad to be on site in person here with CompTIA and sponsoring this great event. And we're so glad to have the opportunity to stream across the country together today with some good friends for apprenticeship. So if you're here to hear about apprenticeships for tech, a true triple threat, you're in the right place. It's my pleasure to welcome our guests today, Antoine Ford. Thank you so much for being here. And Latifa Durant, thank you for being here. And Dion White. So from CompTIA's perspective, why is apprenticeship important? Learning by doing. How can apprenticeship be used to improve job outcomes and opportunity is the topic today. I see someone saying in chat that there's no audio for the virtual audience. That's very important news. Can I have confirmation of that from another listener? Stephanie, thanks for sharing that. Does that mean, Stephanie, that you cannot hear us? Okay, so we have other virtual listeners saying they can hear, Stephanie. So please effort to change your audio source. Perhaps it's on your end. Thank you, everyone, for your patience as we work through yet another technology platform. I really like this Hopton at, and of course, it's no irony that we're at a tech ed conference with issues with tech. Super. So some people are struggling with mobile, they say in the chat, so please try maybe on a desktop. Perhaps that'll be a solution for you. So CompTIA, who are we? We are the Trade Association for IT, and we have a deep and broad history and millions of certified learners in our pathways around the world. So we understand what it takes to succeed in a job in tech and have a certification portfolio to back that up. It's our pleasure to really work in workforce issues, and our mission is to unlock potential people to find opportunity in tech. So with that, perhaps I can turn to my guests to introduce themselves. Antoine, would you like to start? And then we'll turn it to your learner there, Dion. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Amy. Appreciate everyone and across the country, especially those who are in San Diego, because I'm jealous. Again, my name is Antoine Ford. I am president and CEO of Enlighten Incorporated. We are a technology firm focused in cybersecurity and system engineering and management consulting. I also serve in many other capacities. I serve as the chair of the Workforce Investment Council in Washington, D.C., your nation's capital. I serve as in the National Association of Workforce Boards, really looking at this issue across the country. So I'm delighted about being here today. I'm also delighted to have Dion here, one of our apprentices. Dion.
Hi, my name is Dion White Jr. I'm currently a senior at Friendship Tech Prep Academy. I work here at Enlighten as an IT intern. I have worked here for a year. I have a three-year long internship here at Enlighten.
Wait, it's going to be a little longer because I'm going to keep him after he graduates from college. So.
Sounds like you found a winner. That's great news, Antoine. I love it. Dion, thank you so much for taking time out of your school day to join us here today. We really appreciate it. When we scheduled this, y'all, we had to think about school schedules. So you know how that goes. And so he's our most valuable player on this team. Dion, thanks for being here. Latifa, if I can turn to you for an introduction. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Latifa Durant. I'm the Vice President of Innovation at CityWorks DC, and we're a nonprofit intermediary also located in Washington, DC, that really helps to build the education to employment pathway for our young people to provide them with excellent opportunities to launch and accelerate their early career outcomes. We're excited to partner with CompTIA and Apprenticeships for Tech. We offer a number of apprenticeships for local students. We are currently serving 40 students and over 17 employers, and we are expanding by the day. Even this morning, we had an employer sign up for 20 more apprenticeship slots. So we're excited about the growth and expansion of apprenticeship, particularly in the tech industry here in DC. And we're particularly excited that we're able to partner with folks like Antoine at Enlightened and his apprentice, Dion, as well, to make sure that our young people get access to high quality work experiences that are able to lead to future employment.
Thank you so much, Latifa. And congratulations on another big employer today. That's wonderful to hear that as we speak, your program's growing. That's great.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love hearing about those wins. I just love it. Well, it's a real win to be here in person. And I know some of the people tuning in might even be here in person. And we want to make sure that you know that we at CompTIA have the opportunity to connect with you both virtually and in person. So in the chat, I want to thank Mission Control. We have Elizabeth Wanamaker, who is in the chat. You can ask questions of her. And we have Jillian Seeley from CompTIA in the chat. So they're there to help us on the virtual side connecting. And of course, if you're on site, we'd love to meet with you and come on by our suite 824 this evening between 4:30 and 5:30, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. So it's great that we can be in person again, and of course, we really want to talk about this important opportunity of apprenticeship. What does it mean that it's time for employers to engage, from being purchasers of talent to really investing in growing talent? Do you think that employers can continue with the status quo of who they hire and how they hire, or how can they change it? What's the new way this can be working? So Latifa, can I turn to you?
Certainly. I'll share that, historically, employers have, posted job descriptions, many oftentimes requiring at least a bachelor's degree. And not because the job actually requires a bachelor's degree, just because that's how they've always done it. And they feel like it's a proxy for what someone is able to do and their ability to have critical thinking skills and research and all these things. But we're really trying to work with employers to shift that mindset to say, is it really a bachelor's degree that's required, or is it really the skills and competencies that, young people need to do the job that you're looking for? And so it takes a moment to work with employers to kind of reset that thinking, to decide, well, what is it that I'm really looking for, as opposed to just using the bachelor's degree as a proxy. And so that's why it's great to work with employers like Antoine, who have said, you know what, these are the skills to do the job. And as long as we can make sure that the young people that we're hiring have these skills, then they have an opportunity here at our organization. And so employers, as they think about shifting from being consumers of talent to actually being investing in talent, it certainly is a mind shift. And so it takes a willingness to train incoming young people or incoming new hires that they may not come in, that ready-made perspective, right? But that you actually have a perspective of, I'm going to take someone who has interest, who has aptitude, who's a hard worker, who has that desire to learn and to grow. And I'm going to train them in the way that we do things at our organization. I'm going to train them in this particular occupation. I'm going to train them to make sure that they have all the skills they need to be able to do the job. So absolutely, I think there's a need for that shift, particularly as we look at how the landscape has changed and the Great Resignation and all those other things. How we've always done business is not necessarily serving the business community well anymore. And so we have a unique opportunity at this particular, point in time to rethink about what our hiring practices look like, as well as how can we also hire diverse talent as well. So there's lots of DEI initiatives and folks are thinking about how they can diversify their workforce. It doesn't start at the top. It doesn't start with your CEOs or your C-suite folks. It starts with building that pipeline from your entry-level positions. And apprenticeship is uniquely positioned in a way to help not only serve the company from a return on investment perspective, but also to serve a company when they think about their longer term DEI initiatives.
Thanks, Latifa. From that perspective, working with many employers as DC City works in our nation's capital, it's a perfect segue to talk to Antoine, a tech CEO also in Washington, DC, about how he sees this on the ground as a tech CEO and someone who's really plugged into the workforce network.
No, Latifa really set me up really well here for that, AD, because ultimately, and I'm going to say some terms that is funny, Dion might not even know. If we don't continue to evolve as employers, you will become your Radio Shacks, your Blockbusters, your Circuit Cities, and people are like, he's like, who's Radio Shack, right? Because we're not evolving, right? And so you have to involve. We invest in crypto, we invest in the stock market, we invest in food. We have to do an investment because we have to shift the paradigm. We have the Great Resignation, as Latifa talked about, where life has changed. Right after this sort of COVID world that we're in now, all the world's changed. no better time is it necessary to invest in someone to be able to say, Stephen Covey has a quote that says, if you want to predict your future, then create it. So if I want Enlighten to be a better company and I want somebody to understand my vision and where we're trying to go, why wouldn't I invest in someone and help them be a part of the culture that I'm setting? As opposed to, and this hasn't always worked, and I'm saying this to the employees out there and they know what I'm saying, trying to buy someone off the shelf. We try, but their experiences and indeed some of their negative perspectives are also brought with you. So I'd rather be able to say, okay, Dion, let's work with him as he grows and he brings and understands the culture. So, if he goes to college, by the time he gets there, he's a 3-year veteran of Enlighten already who can help set the culture. And that's something that I think every employer really should really pay attention to.
I love that. So if you had, I'm going to go a little bit off script, but I know you can handle this, Antoine. Mm-hmm. If you had one piece of advice for other employers, can you give it like a 2-sentence, tip around apprenticeship?
Evolve. You got to evolve. You have to get to the point where you understand if you're investing in your company in every other way, why wouldn't you invest in your company in the people, which is the bottom line from a tech firm? That's your biggest asset. It's
sure
not
is.
Technology. It's your biggest asset. You have to make the investments that we make. We invest in all type of technology, but fail to invest in the people that are going to can leverage the technology. And so I think you have to evolve and sort of shift the way of thinking that we all have during the pandemic. Now that we've shifted our way of thinking, this is no better time to say, this is the final frontier. Let me now invest in someone like Dion. I guarantee you there'll be a great return on investment because there already has been.
That's great. And you've invested through apprenticeship, which we need to dig into a little bit more. That's one way to do it for sure. Well, awesome. So maybe the key thing to do is now talk about the value of apprenticeship. We've talked about the landscape. Latifa, can you summarize the value of apprenticeship for employers today? Within the context of that shift we're talking about and in wake of the Great Resignation. Anything you'd like to add?
Absolutely. I'd say there's several ways that apprenticeship adds value for employers. One way that it adds value is it reduces their recruiting costs, right? So when you have a young person like Dion that Antoine has hired, that young person is going to stay with you. And whether it's a young person or whether it's an adult, it really doesn't matter. It's the fact that they got their training with your company creates a sense of loyalty to your company, right? And so as opposed to trying to get headhunters and all these other things to try to backfill positions or try to reduce attrition or address attrition, this is an opportunity for employers to really reduce their cost of hiring. Employers also benefit, as I mentioned, by seeing lower attrition or lower turnover rates. Because they are committed to that particular employer, they are likely to stay. They're less likely to leave and go other places and take their talent and all that training that you've provided and that you have, invested in them with them. It also creates a sense of, I don't know how to explain other than say energy, within your organization. I've worked in apprenticeship in a number of different settings. And for that employer or that employee who's been working with you for, 20 years or 15 years, at some point they can feel like, I got this job. It just kind of becomes second nature and you're kind of on autopilot. But having an apprentice come in really reinvigorates those employees who've been around for a while because they have the opportunity to impart knowledge to someone else. There's a certain level of satisfaction and excitement that comes when you're able to train someone else in the work that you're doing. And then I'd also say there's an opportunity for perhaps folks who haven't supervised before, who are perhaps newer in your organization. This is an opportunity for them to grow their skill sets. It's also a professional development opportunity for newer employees to say, hey, I would love to supervise an apprentice to demonstrate my ability to manage so that I can continue to grow in my leadership capabilities and continue to grow in opportunities here at the company. But most importantly, all of those reasons are great. Less hiring costs, greater retention, just that energy that they bring to the organization. But at the end of the day, we're business folks. You need to see return on investment. And I think that's what employers really get out of the apprenticeship experience is that what they've put in, they see a greater return than what they've put out. And I think one of the things that helps to demonstrate that is people say, "Oh, I did an internship," or "We had an intern." Well, an intern is there for 6 weeks, maybe if you're lucky, a full summer, 3 months. Just as soon as they learn how to do anything and actually add value, they're gone, and that's it. But through an apprenticeship, you have someone with you for an extended period of time, whether it's a year, 2 years, or in the case of our CareerWise DC Youth Apprenticeship Model, 3 years that you're investing in this person. And so you certainly get to see that return on investment in terms of their productivity on their job and what they're able to contribute to the company.
Thanks for that. You're so right. It's all about what's in it for me from everyone's perspective. And I'm eager to get Dion's perspective on what's in it for him. We'll get there. But I think I should ask Antoine as an employer too, really on the ground, what do you see?
Well, I mean, and one of the things to your previous question, Amy, I think you have to tell the employees there's a value proposition to you. I think most employers, when they hear these programs, start to think about, okay, I'll do this for the community. I'll do this because there's some altruistic reason to do it. Great, there is. But the value of it is a value to your business at the end of the day, the return on investment. And I think when people sort of see it from that perspective, where they can measure the return, where there's a resource that you have that you're investing in as a business owner. And at the end of the day, for me, I have someone I can invest in multiple years, help him understand. He's also bringing innovation, new things to the company. Immediately when we got online, this is the first time, we're in the hop in. We had a couple little things. He said, "Don't change that right now," because his perspective, now he's grown up in this world, whereas we're adapting to this world. So for me, he's bringing value because he can immediately see things where I'm like, okay, what platform am I in now? The value for him is I can immediately see it because my paradigm is different than yours. And I'm embracing that. And I think that's critical as a business owner, that immediately he's bringing value to us because his thought process is added to ours. So I'm not saying, as I tell people when we were younger, he's not at the little Thanksgiving Day table. He's at the main table with us.
Absolutely. I think that's a really key point, is that return on investment's real in numbers, but you're also really getting there on the value of what it brings for Dion as an example. So Dion, I am going to turn to you now with a question around, how has your knowledge grown from the time you started, with Enlightened, in your apprenticeship, and love to hear about that. How have you grown?
Okay, well, I can say for certain that my IT knowledge has specifically grown increasingly. Everything goes every time I come into the office. When I first started working at Enlightened, only thing I knew about IT was the stuff I saw in movies. People with big servers and people are typing on the computer real fast. I never really saw or really heard or really know anything about actual IT. But when I'm here, since working, I learned the hardware and software side of IT. Some of the things I do have at Enlightened is edit the company website, actually. Also been taking programming lessons here while provided by Enlightened, which helps me practice coding. Other things I do at Enlightened also help set up the network and making sure that devices are connected to the network and that they're actually working properly for employees. I also help out with the onboarding process by set up new employees with computers and installing apps, and make sure they're given the proper access and only the access they are needed based on their access level and department they work on. I also help conduct research on new software, and that basically help make the best possible solution by looking at security and pricing causes. I was say this. Overall, my IT knowledge has really grown, and I really learn more and more every day. And I really can't really thank Mr. Full more than enough for the opportunity.
Thanks for sharing about what you're doing day to day. That's a huge accomplishment for sure, to get that real applied learning. I have to ask the next question. Do you feel set up for the next steps in what's next for you, Dion? I mean, I really want to hear what'll be next for you in your journey, because you told us you're still in school. Yeah,
I'm 100% ready for my next opportunity. Next, this fall, I'm attending George Mason. I'm going to be majoring in cybersecurity, and I feel like I have an edge on in my classes so far by learning the technical skills I have learned here. So I feel like I would have like more an advantage in the class, and I feel like I would better be able to handle the coursework and then in curriculum in college.
Sounds like you're a man with a plan.
He got accepted to many schools. This is the first time I didn't know you decided on that one.
Yeah, I decided on it.
So that's set now. Awesome.
Very good. Very
awesome.
Good.
Sounds great. Well, that's big news.
I
I'm
guess
sure your family's
for those folks sometimes getting nervous about apprenticeships because it's like, oh my God, Antoine, you've made this investment. One of the things I told him is that, again, we're continuing this for a number of years. Even when he's in school and taking a break between classes, he can, as I said, come back home. Because this is a long-term investment. It's the difference between, I've done a lot of internships, but I think, Latifah, as you mentioned, as soon as they get it, they're gone. As opposed to, I'm showing him where his future desk and office is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really great. Well, I'm sure your family is very proud of you. It's really great to hear what you've achieved and earned. Certainly well-deserved success. Congratulations. We're very happy for you. That is a long-term goal that you've worked towards, and it's great to hear you've had that success as you bridge into this new world. And I think it's even more remarkable given all the challenges of the pandemic for kids in school. A lot of us parents have really seen, a lot of us educators have really seen how hard this time has been. So kudos to you for persevering through a challenging period of history, and best of luck on your next chapter there. It's great to hear about that. It's breaking news, obviously. Super. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the role of apprenticeship in flipping some of the operational risks that are really inherent in having kind of the traditional and actually weak pipeline of IT and cyber talent. At CompTIA, we look closely at this data, and many of you may be familiar with our website, cyberseek.org and cyberstates.org, and we publish data on the talent gap and really how we can help unlock people's potential and get people into jobs is really part of what we're talking about here with the apprenticeship program. So really thinking about ways to use technology to innovate, and not just be reactive, but be proactive in creating talent is really the number one reason we see the role of us developing cybersecurity talent stronger and more important than ever. Of course, in light also of the events of the day, everyone, I just met one of the developers for Zoom downstairs over coffee. And of course, I said, gosh, you've been busy. He goes, yeah, you bet. So all the technology that's enabled us to keep working remotely is, of course, coming to fruition. All the security needs, of course, that we're only seeing increased import on as we face instability in our world security. So these are jobs that aren't going away. These are jobs that are growing, and our data and resources at CompTIA can help you see down to your zip code really what, as an employer, the supply and demand picture looks like. And also we have a lot of data there around what the salaries are, and we want to help close that gap and unlock people's potential. So having spoken to how we can create more opportunity by developing talent, I'm going to turn to Latifah. And I don't know if Antoine can hear me. It looks like he dropped off the visual screen. Antoine, if you can hear us, say something.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So you can hear us, but we can't see you, which is just fine.
Oh, no, okay.
I can see you.
Oh, good. Well, I guess Mission Control's got a better visual than I do. Thank you. Okay. So I'll turn to Latifah first. What would you say to an employer who's on the fence about launching an apprenticeship program? You just closed one more employer for 20 spots today. So, if I were an employer on the fence, what would you tell me about why I should jump in?
I don't know that I need to say much after you've heard from Dion, right? So you heard Dion share, what he's learned and been able to do after 1 year in the apprenticeship, right? Mm-hmm. He's got 2 more years to go. And so I mean, I was just excited hearing about all that you have learned and just how far you have grown, Dion. Like, we are so very, very proud of you, and excited about how you are contributing to Enlightened. I mean, I don't know what else to share with an employer other than what you've already heard Dion express, that, he's contributing to Enlightened, that he's learning and growing himself, that his experience, and he said, he didn't know about IT before coming there, right? And now he's majoring in cybersecurity, I mean, at a very, reputable university in our region. And so I think this experience in and of itself speaks volumes. So what I would say to an employer is, at CityWorks DC, we offer the CareerWise Youth Apprenticeship Program. We support other employers like Aon with their apprenticeship programs. That there is an opportunity here in apprenticeship to build your talent pipeline and to do it in a way that you may not have thought about before, to do it in a way that will help you be cutting edge, in your industry and amongst your peers. And this is not something, apprenticeship isn't new, right? Apprenticeship has been around. Particularly if you think about our European counterparts in Switzerland and Germany and England, there's a reason why that 70% of the Swiss workforce has gone through an apprenticeship. Talking about the CEOs of multinational, financial institutions, because it works. And we've been, I think, conditioned here in the U.S. when we hear apprenticeship to think just of perhaps the traditional construction trades, and I certainly have worked in that space, and there's a great value there. But how can we think about apprenticeship in places like IT, in business operations, in marketing, in finance, in healthcare? Like, there is a world in which apprenticeship can have tremendous impact to address current hiring needs, through training those who are interested and willing to learn your particular occupation or learn your particular field. So I guess my encouragement to employers would be, particularly those who are sitting in human resources, your CHROs, your CEOs like Antoine, to think about how have you been addressing your talent needs and where have you seen that you're falling short? Where do you see those open recs, those open jobs that are sitting for quite a while? And think differently about how you fill them. If you've always gone to certain universities, if you've always, posted on certain job boards, it's time to think differently. It's time to be creative and innovative. And that's how you got where you are as a company. You didn't get there by doing the same thing over and over again. But how can we decide and make a conscious decision to break the routine? I think that's the message I would have to employers. Break the routine of what you've been doing in terms of developing and hiring talent, and consider a new way through apprenticeship, particularly in the tech industry.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. You pushed me over the edge. In a good way, towards apprenticeship, right?
Yes,
exactly.
Yes, in a good way.
Exactly. It didn't push me off the edge. Exactly. And I think it can transform both ROI and culture. So I'm going to ask you real quick, Antoine, on culture. We've talked about the impact on your company, we've talked about the impact on Beyond, talked about your impact, but how about on the other employees at Enlighten? What do you see there? That's the question I think that.
Well, it's funny because part of them, and we have two other apprentices, they want to invest because they see value. And we had interns for years. This is the first time we've done the apprenticeship program, and they become part of the culture. And so they get invited to meetings. Every time a VIP walks into the office, folks make sure that he gets introduced. And so the cultural change is, how do we make sure we make them a part of who we are, as opposed to them and us? Now it becomes together as a culture, and they expect now there to be a culture of the pipeline to the company. Like, now it's expectation that there should be a pipeline into Enlighten of folks where, quite candidly, in his year 3, he's going to be mentoring my year 1 folks, right? And so the culture becomes part of that, where you have generations of mentors and proteges that are coming out, where I expect him year 3 to say, hey, look at this young junior in high school. I'm in college now. Let me show you the ropes. The same way the cultural changes have with my folks that are here. And that's part of creating the culture when you have that sort of generations of folks in the company.
That's awesome to hear. And we look back at our careers and in development we've all had. I think the key thing is always the people and investing in the people. What we did was important, how we help people in our job, but it comes down to those relationships and building those team members up and mentoring and growing is a gift for the mentor and for the mentee. And I look back on a career where I really think about the handful of special relationships, and you're right, it's transformative for the culture. It's absolutely transformative for the culture.
Oh, yeah.
So our team at Mission Control is going to post some links in the chat for y'all. Of course, we're here from CompTIA talking about CompTIA Apprenticeships for Tech program. And if you want more information around that as an employer and want to connect with us across the country, we can connect you with programs like the one we're talking about today in Washington, D.C. If you're in Washington, D.C. itself and want to connect as an employer, I know Latifah would be really excited to hear from you. So she's posted a link to her program there, DC CityWorks. And of course, Antoine's company Enlighten's a cybersecurity provider in our nation's capital. And there'll be a link posted there as well if you want to connect with him further. It's a pleasure to think about how we can use technology to unlock people's potential through apprenticeship. And these careers are growing and strong, and CompTIA is really excited to be able to broaden this on-ramp to this opportunity and with inclusive opportunities for everyone to earn and learn and get a place in tech. We like to say there's a place in tech for everyone, and make that real by closing that gap. One of the big myths we have to bust is everybody has to be awesome at science and math, and this is an opportunity that's in every zip code across the country, and employers are clamoring for talent. So let's work together to unlock this opportunity to create pathways to quality jobs, to broaden America's middle class, and really create potential to help others grow. And it's been a pleasure to moderate this today. Thank you so much for your time, Latifah, Antoine, and Dion. I wish you all a very pleasant day, and I'm excited to be here in San Diego and continue the conversations. I'll be tweeting for CompTIA live from the event. You can follow us there on Twitter at Teach CompTIA for our educational site, and we'll put a link to that in the chat as well. If anyone has any final words, I think it's thanks and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us, Amy, and thanks for everyone who was able to join us today online.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us online. This recording will be posted and available, and we look forward to continue the conversation in person or online around apprenticeships and around tech pathways. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Take care.